All right, and now switching to Sean P. Diddy Combs and his case. Rapper Kid Cudi taking the stand in the racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking trial of Diddy. He testified that he believed Diddy was involved in 2 incidents, a break-in at Cudi's Los Angeles home and arson that damaged Cudi's Porsche beyond repair. Cudi says both incidents occurred after Diddy found out about Cudi's relationship with Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. And now joining us to discuss this huge case is our legal analyst, Chris Tritico. So, Chris, first of all, you were saying how, let's just talk about first Kid Cudi's testimony and what you thought about it.
It's important testimony because if you remember, Cassie Ventura, when she testified, said that he said to her, his car is going to blow up. Mm-hmm. And it did. And so that's the jury's going to make that connection. Mm-hmm. They are going to find that Diddy blew that car up or had it blown up. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be really hard for them not to find that. Furthermore, Diddy was in his house and they spoke while he was in his house. He broke into his house. There was threats made and threats followed through on, and that's a part of the indictment. And so they've made this connection. Cassie testified to it. They connected the dots with his testimony, Cudi's testimony. And so that's a part of the indictment that was connected up here today in testimony. It was pretty compelling testimony. So that was a good part of what they needed to do today.
Wow. And so what about his personal assistant? You were talking about how that was important testimony.
Very important testimony. It's been glossed over by everyone, but this was some of the most compelling, important testimony in the whole trial thus far. The personal assistant testified that Diddy had him buying drugs for the Diddy and for the freak-offs. That is a RICO count. That is what RICO, racketeering and influence and corruption is compelling others to break the law. And that is a element of this offense. And so once they had this person who worked for Diddy go out, he's testified now that he was buying drugs at Diddy's request. That is an element of RICO. It's a part of the RICO indictment, and it was something that had to be proven before Diddy can be convicted of RICO. They've made that part of it now. And that's very important testimony that everyone just kind of glossed over this guy. That's some of the most important testimony in the case so far.
And why do you think people glossed over him?
Because nobody understood how important that was.
Oh.
RICO is kind of this thing that people don't understand. Mm-hmm. But I don't think anybody really caught how important that testimony was to making that element, that charge in the indictment.
Wow. All right. And then Milo Morales' testimony.
I don't really know who that is.
Okay. That's one of the I mean, if you want to talk about also George Kaplan's testimony, I believe him being the personal assistant.
Yeah, that's who we're just talking about, the personal assistant. And then you've got the other people that came in today were all people who were at the Milo Morales was the makeup artist. Okay. I remember who that was. The makeup artist was present at the scene after Diddy beat up on his girlfriend and was present and was present there, heard him go into her room at a hotel and heard all the commotion, the yelling, the hollering, the throwing of things. Diddy left. She went in and then saw her with bruises all over her face and had to fix her up to go out. That testimony to me is not as important to the overall case, but it still adds up with Cassie's testimony of earlier when she said what was happening. It's just connecting the dots. And so it's still putting the case together that the government made. It's part of the indictment. And so it's each day connecting the dots of what the indictment says happened. And so they're just going through and connecting all the dots.
All right, Chris. Thank you so much for your expertise there.